Welcome back to Nerding in English. We're jumping right into our next Harry Potter overview. And wow, we are looking at a much darker, magical mystery this time around. Yeah, it really is. But just like always, we're going to practice our English naturally by getting totally lost in the story, the characters, and the mystery itself. So don't stress about having perfect English. Just relax, listen, and let's go on this adventure together. Oh, and definitely hit that like button, subscribe, and check out the description. So we kick things off with Harry having a literally miserable, lonely summer back at the Dursleys' house. I mean, he's basically trapped in his room, his owl Hedwig is locked in her cage, and he's feeling incredibly sad because he hasn't gotten a single letter from his friends all summer long. But then, out of nowhere, this strange, super emotional little creature just pops up on Harry's bed. This is Dobby. He's a house elf, which is essentially a magical servant that's bound to serve one specific family. And Dobby is frantic. He warns Harry that he absolutely must not return to Hogwarts this year, claiming there's this dark plot and terrible things are going to happen. But, you know Harry, he refuses to stay away from the only place that feels like home. Right, so Dobby decides the best way to save Harry is to get him in huge trouble. He sneaks downstairs during Uncle Vernon's fancy dinner party, uses magic to float this massive, beautiful cake in the air, and just drops it right on the guests' heads. Complete chaos. So Dobby's intense warning is just ringing in Harry's ears. Terrible things are about to happen at Hogwarts. But because of that whole cake disaster, Harry is completely stuck. Uncle Vernon is furious and literally puts metal bars on Harry's window. No way out. That is, until the middle of the night, when a flying turquoise car suddenly appears outside the window. Inside are his best friend Ron Weasley and Ron's older twin brothers, Fred and George. They actually attach a rope to the metal bars, rip them right off the house, and rescue Harry into the night sky. They take him straight to the Burrow, which is their incredibly warm, loud, and totally chaotic family home. Eventually, it's time to get their school supplies in Diagon Alley. And amid all the madness of meeting this ridiculously vain celebrity author Gilderoy Lockhart, we see Draco Malfoy's cruel father, Lucius. He secretly slips an old black book into little Ginny Weasley's cauldron. Not suspicious at all, right? But the real panic hits on September 1st. They're at the train station, it's 10:58 a.m., and the magical wall to platform 934 suddenly seals shut. Harry and Ron are blocked. Desperate times call for desperate measures, so they actually fly that enchanted car all the way to Hogwarts, and it does not end well. They crash violently into a massive, very angry magical tree called the Whomping Willow, and the reward for surviving all that? The next morning, Ron gets a screaming magical howler letter from his mom, right in the middle of herbology class, competing with the screams of the crying mandrakes. Honestly, it's a miracle they survived the start of term, but the tension at Hogwarts is definitely growing. In defense against the dark arts, Professor Lockhart proves he is completely useless. He releases a cage of crazy Cornish pixies and just runs away, leaving the kids to deal with it. But the real trouble starts on the Quidditch field. Draco Malfoy's incredibly wealthy father just bought the whole Slytherin team expensive new brooms. Hermione rightly points out that the Gryffindor team got in on pure talent, not money. In response, Draco uses a terrible, deeply insulting word against her. It's this shocking display of prejudice, an unfair, deep-seated hate against a specific group of people. Yeah, Draco calls Hermione a mudblood. It's a really cruel term for a muggle-born, which means a wizard who comes from a non-magic family. Ron gets so furiously defensive of Hermione that he tries to curse Draco on the spot. But, remember that car crash? Ron's wand is broken, so the spell totally backfires, and poor Ron ends up vomiting giant slugs. It's gross. They rush to Hagrid's hut for help. Hagrid is so sweet here. He comforts Hermione, telling her not to listen to Draco. He says there isn't a single spell our brilliant Hermione can't do. It just proves once and for all that magic abilities do not depend on pure bloodlines. But things get much, much darker from here. While Harry is serving detention, he hears this chilling, monstrous voice moving through the walls of the castle. No one else can hear it, and it's whispering hungrily about blood. It's terrifying. He follows the voice with Ron and Hermione until they find themselves in a dark, flooded corridor. They notice a strange line of spiders just running away, squeezing out through a window. And then they see it. A horrifying message written in blood on the wall. The Chamber of Secrets has been opened. Enemies of the air, beware. And right next to that message, the caretaker's cat, Mrs. Norris, is hanging from a torch bracket, completely frozen solid. As you can imagine, the whole school is totally terrified. Professor McGonagall steps in to explain the really dark history behind that bloody message.
She tells them that 1,000 years ago, Salazar Slytherin, who was one of the school's founders, believed that only pure-blood wizards should be allowed to study magic. When the other founders disagreed with him, Slytherin left the school. But the legend goes that he built a hidden room deep underground called the Chamber of Secrets. He sealed it up until his true heir arrived at the school. The story says that only this heir can open the chamber and release a terrible monster hidden inside. And this monster? Its sole purpose is to hunt down Muggle-born students.
And that legend becomes horrifyingly real when a young student named Colin Creevey is found petrified. That means he is completely frozen, like a stone statue. The school goes into an absolute panic. Then, during a Quidditch match, a rogue, incredibly violent bludgerball chases Harry around the pitch and shatters his arm. While Harry is recovering in the dark hospital wing that night, who shows up? Dobby the house elf. Dobby actually admits that he was the one who blocked the train barrier and he sent the rogue ball. He's just desperately trying to force Harry to go home for his own safety. Dobby warns him that a terrible history is repeating itself.
Trying to help students protect themselves, Professor Lockhart decides to start a dueling club. Big mistake. Harry's paired against Draco, who uses magic to summon a live snake right onto the floor. The snake turns and prepares to attack another student. Without even thinking, Harry naturally speaks to the snake to tell it to stop. But this raises a huge, terrifying question for everyone watching in the room. Why can Harry speak Parseltongue? The snake language is an incredibly rare, dark magic ability. And you know who was famously known for using it? Salazar Slytherin himself. Suddenly, just because he speaks this language, the entire school suspects that Harry Potter is the heir of Slytherin. Harry, Ron, and Hermione know they need to find out if Draco is the real heir, so Hermione brews this incredibly complex polyjuice potion to disguise the boys as Draco's friends. They sneak into the Slytherin common room and learn that Draco definitely isn't the heir, but he does let slip that the chamber was last opened exactly 50 years ago. Soon after that, Harry makes a massive discovery in a flooded bathroom. He finds a mysterious empty black book. It's a diary, but this isn't just a normal book for private writing. The pages are entirely blank, and on the back it says it belonged to a student named Tom Riddle from, you guessed it, exactly 50 years ago. When Harry writes in it, the magical diary actually writes back, and it pulls him right into a memory from 50 years ago. In this memory, we see a really stark contrast. On one side, we have young Tom Riddle, who looks like this perfect model student trying to catch the culprit. On the other side, Riddle points his wand at a younger Rubeus Hagrid, accusing him of opening the chamber. Harry is completely shocked. Hagrid? No way! But in the present day, the horror just escalates. Hermione is found petrified in the hospital wing. It's devastating. And because of his past record from 50 years ago, the Minister of Magic arrives and arrests Hagrid. Even worse, Professor Dumbledore is forced to step down and leave the school. Right before being taken away to prison, Hagrid secretly drops a hint to the boys, telling them to follow the spiders. So they brave the totally dark, creepy forest and meet Aragog, a giant spider who actually proves Hagrid's innocence. Harry and Ron barely escape getting eaten by jumping into the flying car. Back at school, they visit the petrified Hermione, and they find a crumpled piece of paper hidden in her frozen hand. Because she is brilliant, she had actually solved the mystery before she was attacked. The clues finally all align. Spiders naturally flee from it. It moves around the school through the castle plumbing pipes. Looking directly into its eyes kills you instantly, but seeing its reflection, like in water or a mirror, only petrifies you. The monster is a basilisk, a giant ancient serpent. But just as they figure all this out, a terrifying new message is found written on the wall. It reads, "Her skeleton will lie in the chamber forever." The monster has finally taken someone. It dragged a student down into the depths, and it's Ginny Weasley, Ron's little sister. The teachers are in shock, and they basically tell Professor Lockhart that it's finally his time to step up and be a hero. But when Harry and Ron go to his office to help, they find Lockhart frantically packing his bags. Facing this dark reality, Lockhart finally admits he is a total fraud. He just steals stories from brave wizards and uses memory charms to make them forget. Harry and Ron are not having it. They force the cowardly Lockhart to come with them at wand point. They realize the entrance to the chamber has been right under their noses all along. It's in Moaning Myrtle's bathroom. First, they locate the specific sink that Myrtle always haunts. Then, Harry speaks Parseltongue to the snake carved on the tap, which magically unlocks the secret passage. And next thing you know, they descend deep into the dark, slimy pipes miles beneath the school. But suddenly, Lockhart grabs Ron's broken wand and tries to erase their memories to save himself. Because the wand is so damaged, the spell backfires spectacularly. It completely erases Lockhart's own memory and causes a massive rock collapse, totally blocking Ron from going any further. Harry has to go on alone. Harry walks into the massive, echoing Chamber of Secrets by himself. It's incredibly eerie. There, at the end of the hall, he finds Ginny lying on the cold stone floor, barely alive. And standing right next to her, it's Tom Riddle. But he looks exactly as he did 50 years ago. Riddle claims he is just a memory, something remembered from the past. But this dark magic diary was actually keeping a literal piece of his soul alive. He coldly explains to Harry that he has been controlling Ginny through the diary all year. He forced her into a trance to open the chamber, strangle the roosters, and write those bloody messages on the walls. Then, Riddle reveals his ultimate, darkest secret. Using Harry's wand, he writes his full name in the air, Tom Varvolo Riddle. With a flick of the wand, the glowing letters rearrange themselves to spell, I am Lord Voldemort. He is the true heir of Slytherin. He stands there comparing himself to Harry, and it's true, they share some really eerie similarities. Both are half-blood orphans, both can speak Parseltongue, and they even look somewhat alike. But Harry's choices and his unyielding loyalty to his friends make him completely different from Voldemort. Furious that Harry absolutely refuses to join him, Voldemort turns to the giant stone statue and summons the terrifying basilisk to kill him. Harry is running for his life, and just when things look completely hopeless, Dumbledore's loyal phoenix, Fawkes, swoops right into the chamber. Fawkes flies at the giant basilisk and blinds it with his claws, meaning its deadly eyes can no longer kill Harry. Fawkes also drops the old, battered magical sorting hat right at Harry's feet. Showing immense courage, which is that true bravery when you are facing overwhelming fear, Harry reaches deep into the hat, and he pulls out a beautiful, gleaming silver sword. It is the legendary sword of Godric Gryffindor, a weapon that only a true Gryffindor could pull from the hat in a time of absolute need. What follows is just a thrilling, desperate battle. Harry climbs up the giant stone statue and uses the sword to strike up and slay the basilisk. But as he does, one of the monster's huge poisonous fangs violently pierces his arm. The fang breaks off, Harry is dying from the venom. But with his very last bit of strength, he pulls the fang from his arm, grabs Tom Riddle's diary, and stabs it over and over. The diary bleeds out this black ink, and the memory of Voldemort screams, explodes into blinding light, and vanishes completely. Ginny wakes up, totally safe, but Harry is fading fast. That's when Fawkes the Phoenix hops over and cries gently on Harry's wound, and those magical, healing Phoenix tears literally save his life. Later, back up in Dumbledore's quiet, safe office, Harry confesses his deep fear to the headmaster. He's so worried about how similar he is to Voldemort. He wonders if the Sorting Hat was right last year, and if he truly belongs in Slytherin. But Dumbledore imparts this beautiful, deeply comforting lesson. He looks at Harry and says, "It is our choices, Harry, that show what we truly are, far more than our abilities." Because Harry chose to be incredibly brave and chose to be loyal to his friends when it mattered most, he proved without a shadow of a doubt that he truly belongs in Gryffindor. Suddenly, the door flies open and Lucius Malfoy storms into the office. And it suddenly all clicks for Harry. Lucius is Dobby's cruel master, and he was the one who originally slipped the diary into Ginny's cauldron back in Diagon Alley. Harry decides right then to reward Dobby for his unwavering loyalty, his constant faithfulness to keeping Harry safe. Harry sneaks his own dirty sock inside the destroyed diary and hands the book to Lucius. Disgusted by the ruined book, Lucius tosses it aside, and Dobby catches it. He opens the book and finds the sock. His master just handed him clothes. By the rules of House Elves, Dobby is finally a free elf. It's such an amazing moment. And the school year ends in total celebration as Hermione, Hagrid, and all the others return safely. Wow, what an amazing end to the mystery. But before we wrap up today, I want you to think about these 3 questions. Why are choices more important than our natural abilities? Why does Harry keep trusting his friends, even when Hogwarts becomes incredibly dangerous? And finally, what does Dobby's freedom show us about courage and kindness? Think about those. And please remember to check the description, like, subscribe, and comment below. Thanks for listening to Nerding in English. We hope you enjoyed our journey through Harry Potter. Until next time, keep practicing your English, keep your curiosity alive, and join us for many more adventures. See you next time.